Generative AI has been taking the world by storm recently with the release of AI video models and AI image models like Midjourney and Sora. These models have been shocking people, frankly, and it seems like our world of entertainment, our movies and TV shows are going to forever be changed by this technology. More and more people may be able to make high quality Hollywood level movies as these video models advance. And though it's affected the movie and TV industry already, we haven't really seen too much of an effect in the video game industry from generative AI, though there is a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. So today we're going to be looking at all the different things that are happening in the video game industry right now that are not public yet. These technologies are still very early and they're not exciting enough to show to anyone, but they are happening. Many companies have made public announcements that they are spending high budgets on video game technology. Some companies have even laid off their employees with the hopes that generative AI will affect the video games greatly in the coming years. So let's just go ahead and look at all the different things that have happened in this space. So when will AI systems be able to make AAA games on their own? Well, it's hard to say. We don't have an exact date, and it's very hard to tell how quickly this technology will develop, just as it was with AI video. Back then, it seemed like it kind of came out of nowhere. By back then, I mean earlier last year, though people have been working on it for years before then. But we do have some key insights into what's going on right now, just from some of the news articles that I've released recently. One of them being that Netflix, they shut down their entire game development sector. The entire thing. They fired everybody, and they had some very, very talented game developers there. So that's a little scary. And then a week later, they start a fully autonomous AI game studio. Okay? So what Netflix is saying here is we think that generative AI is going to be able to make video games, and we're not going to need game developers. And they did this a couple months ago, so it's been a little bit. So I'm sure they're already working on some stuff with that. Alongside this, we have Elon Musk. He's vowing to make his own XAI game studio to make AI-generated games, and he says he's going to make games great again. I guess what he's referring to is how much like battle passes and item shops have affected games, and just in-game content, how it's kind of ruined the game industry. And then we have EA, potentially the largest video game company, saying that 60% of its game development will be affected by AI. And I think, honestly, they're being a little conservative with that. I think it's going to be a lot more than 60%. So these news articles alone should tell you that something's changing. Like, we are headed towards a new era of gaming. It's going to be wild, and it's going to be interesting to see exactly how it all pans out. But what exactly is the technology that's going to allow us to make video games? All right, there's a lot of people speculating about this and talking about this and saying soon all video games will be AI. It's coming closer and closer. But nobody's really talking about what exactly they mean. Like, are we just going to extend video models to gaming? Is it going to be the same technology, diffusion models? What's going on here? Today I'm going to show you a little bit of what exactly these companies think is going to be able to make generative AI video games. And the key thing you need to understand here is a concept called world modeling. So let me try and explain a little bit what a world model is. And an explanation I really like came out last year from Runway Research. These are the big guys in AI video. They have a really advanced model and a really brilliant team working on AI video. They're saying, we believe the next major advancement in AI will come from systems that understand the visual world and its dynamics, which is why we're starting a new long-term research effort around what we call general world models. Now, there's different terms for it: general world models, foundation world models. Essentially, these are just generative AI models that understand the physics and the boundaries of the world, right? They can accurately simulate how the world works. So they also put a world model as an AI system that builds an internal representation of an environment and uses it to simulate future events within that environment. So imagine a real-time world model is just a continuous video that is trying to predict the next few scenes that's going to happen. And with that picture in your head, you can start to realize how that can be applied to video games. Right now, it's being applied to robotics, it's being applied to autonomous driving, and it's also being applied to video games and entertainment. It's being thought about in that context, though we haven't really seen any major video game example using a world model, but I believe it's very close. So the key point here is that world models are going to be essential for pushing us into the next era of AI, the AGI, ASI era, because AI systems simply need to understand the world. We cannot hard code the entire universe into these AI systems, especially for robotics. If we want robots to be what we envision them to be, they're going to need to understand the world and how it works, how physics works. They're going to need to be able to react to dynamic situations that we simply cannot train them on. We can't train them on every single possible thing that could ever happen in the universe, right? So the idea behind these world models is, the robots are going to be trained in a simulation of the world, which is what a world model is. And movies and video games are a simulation of the world as well to some degree. A lot of movies and video games, they follow, the laws of the universe as we know them. And so we can repurpose these world models for that use case as well. And I think that's what these companies are really getting towards. Now, out of all these AI companies, Google is the one making major waves in the video game space. So recently they just came out with a paper. This is in August of 2024. Their Game and Gen experiment, and this was an experiment to basically recreate the game Doom simply using a diffusion transformer model, and they were successful. They recreated the entire game Doom, and it plays in real time on a neural network. All right, so it is absolutely insane. I don't think this is going to be the way that these companies are going to be making generative AI video games, but I thought it was a very interesting research paper. You can go and read that. The link is down below. But what I think is even more interesting that they've done, and I've been following this technology for a while, Google Genie. So they first announced this system that they were building called Google Genie about 11 months ago, February 2024. And recently they have come out with Google Genie 2, which is their second run of the experiment. And Google Genie is essentially a generative AI video game generator, basically. It is a world model that generates playable video game sequences with the intention of using these to train embodied AI agents, which are robots. So I'm going to have some of the outputs that Google was able to produce up on the screen as I'm talking here. And I'm not going to get too technical on how exactly the model works. That's for a later video, potentially my next video, discussing like exactly what world models are internally and how they work. But right now I'm just going to go over the main capabilities and the things that this Google Genie 2 can generate. And the first thing is going to be action controls. So the model itself is actually generating the controls that the agent that is playing their output is going to be using, right? So it will generate for each game like W, move forward, A, move left, S, backward, D, move right, etc. Like it generates the controls within this world. Not only that, but it can also generate different outputs of the same scene. It can generate counterfactuals, right? So if you're trying to train a robot to understand a specific scene, let's say like opening a pickle jar, you're going to show it one clip of trying to open a pickle jar and then successfully, and then one not being able to open it with two different human agents trying to open it, and then another one, someone smashing it open to show the robot that's not what you want to do when you get angry if you can't open that. So that's really interesting. It also has long horizon memory. So just like in a video game, Genie 2 can render parts of the world that are out of view later on if the player, by the way, humans and robots can play this, so a human can actually play the Genie 2. So if the player goes into a part that was not rendered currently, it can re-render itself later on. So that is kind of insane. And the Genie 2 can generate long videos, really long, consistent videos for up to a minute, is what the paper says. So that is actually insane because the AI video models right now, the most they can do, as I know, is 15 seconds of generation, and that's through diffusion modeling. So yeah, I just think world models are like gonna blow diffusion models away. Like I don't know. They can generate diverse environments, of course, so they can create different perspectives, first person view, isometric views, third person driving videos, whatever you want. Complex visual 3D scenes. Let's see, object affordances and interactions. So Genie 2 models various object interactions such as bursting balloons, opening doors, and shooting barrels of explosives. So again, that's just the physics part here. This is so important because as of right now, AI models don't really understand how physics works at all. Even multimodal AI models that work with video, images, text, they don't really understand fully. And that's the main limitation of these video models. They're getting better at it. And Runway's model, I think, is the best at this because they're specifically focused on world modeling and they have been for a while. So teaching their models how physics works. But the reason that your videos come out so wonky and they look so hilarious right now is because AI is trying to learn physics, but it doesn't understand it fully yet. And over time, slowly those funny scenes are going to get, less and less and less. And I bet by honestly, like the end of the year or the beginning of next year, we're going to see videos with no hiccups at all because these world models are going to be so advanced and these video models are going to have mastered the physics of video. And I just think that's insane. It can also do character animations. So, a lot of time in video game developing is just spent making character animations. That's a key part. So it's incredible that it can do that. Can model other agents and even complex interactions between them. So NPCs essentially can model two characters talking to each other, playing together, whatever. And then physics, of course. So Genie 2 models water effects. That's the main thing it's currently good at with physics. And yeah, again, the whole point of world models is to teach AI physics. It can model smoke effects, gravity, lighting. So it can do really nice lighting, just like Unreal Engine is built to do. It can model reflections, bloom, and colored light. And you can also play from real world images. So you can feed the model real world images and then it'll create a world that you can walk around outside of that. And again, these are you get 1 minute in this world because it's being generated in real time. So yeah, it's insane. So you can rapidly prototype different environments. And yeah, you can see these environments that I have up on the screen. It's a lot more impressive than people realize. All right, it's just gonna get so much better, and once they can actually output things that look like a full-on video game, that look like a modern video game, people are finally gonna wake up to this. But they should be waking up to this now. They should be pivoting now. With all that being said, it's very clear that Google is taking AI, generative AI video games very seriously. Tim Brooks, who's a researcher at DeepMind, he's previously head of the Sora division at OpenAI, and it's incredible what they've done over there. He actually put out a post a few weeks ago with a link to job applications for people who want to join the DeepMind team. And specifically for people who want to join their world modeling DeepMind team. So they're hiring tons of people right now for their new world modeling division. And it's interesting what they say in this job application here, which I'll link below. I'm sure they're still accepting people. But yeah, essentially what they're saying is that for us to get to AGI, spatial awareness and world modeling is going to be one of the most important things to get there. And world simulators are going to be a big sign that we made it to the AGI age. So what they say here, and the key responsibility is you're going to be implementing core infrastructure and conducting research to build generative models of the physical world, solving essential problems to train world simulators at massive scale, develop metrics and scaling laws for physical intelligence, etc. So their areas of focus are systems for training multimodal transformers at massive scale, infrastructure for large-scale video data pipelines and annotation. Again, what's crazy is these world models are still trained on videos. So similarly to how they train these video diffusion models, you just need thousands of hours of videos to train these world models to show them how the physical world works. And if you have a specific focus area like driving, you're going to show them thousands of hours of driving videos. And eventually, with the hopes that the model, these are labeled videos, by the way, so eventually with the hopes that the model will start to understand what it's looking at and be able to replicate it itself in a some sort of a simulated environment. So the way I see it is, the way I personally think this will go is, in a year or two, maybe you're going to be able to feed in tons of data to a world model. Say you want to create a Star Wars world and you want to explore it for a couple minutes, right? You're going to feed in tons of images and videos of the Star Wars world, different character information, lore, and this multimodal model is going to take that in and try and generate a world for you that you can explore in real time. And it's going to build it out as you explore it. And then eventually we'll get to the point where those worlds become infinite and the model is able to just keep on generating things as you explore it more and more and more. And then the problem is going to be of continuity. We're going to have to make sure that each thing that's generated makes sense in the context of the last thing that was generated. But again, that all comes with helping these AI models understand how the world works and how physics works, because it's not going to be a hard problem for that model to figure out, okay, I just generated this canyon. I can't just generate a icy glacier right next to it, right? That has to be a gradual release going from that canyon into the glacier, unless in some story world that's the context where canyons and glaciers are built next to each other, right? If they're actually trying to simulate the real world, we just need to feed in thousands and thousands of hours of nature videos and environmental videos to get the model to understand how environments on Earth work and how they transform into each other, how certain plants grow in certain areas and certain plants don't grow in other areas, and animals thrive in certain areas, etc. And we're going to have these huge simulators, these huge models that have been so perfected on one thing that they're able to generate perfect recreations of that thing in real time. And we're going to be able to do that for, the real world if we're trying to simulate things like weather patterns, if we're trying to simulate historic scenes, reconstructions of historical sites, whatever. And we're also going to see that kind of stuff for story worlds. Like, if you want to explore a Star Wars world, there's going to be a model that understands the Star Wars world better than any single human can. It understands every single aspect of it. It even fills in the blanks for continuity holes. And that world model will be able to generate tons of different content surrounding the Star Wars world, whether it be videos or video games, that kind of stuff. And it's going to be so valuable to train these models for various companies. Like companies like Disney are going to want to have their own model to train before other people start training a model based on their IP. Because once other people start doing that, then they're able to create, very high quality media surrounding their IP. And it's going to be like, well, this is so good. It's basically like the real thing, So it's going to be big business, and I personally just think that's how it's going to work in the next few years. So, but it's very elusive right now. Not a lot of people are talking about it. Not a lot of people know how big of an impact generative AI is going to have on video games very soon, just because it's not really happening right in your face yet, right? At this point, everything I've showed in this video is just people coming out and saying things and research, but, where is the actual concrete proof, right? When is this stuff going to start being produced? And I think very soon. I think by the end of the year, we'll see some very tangible examples of the future of entertainment here. And to really just understand it at a deeper level than most people will, until that happens, we need to dive deep into how world models work, how diffusion models work and how they are able to produce video games, and then how world models take that to another level, and all the future potential technologies that may affect the video game industry and the simulation industry throughout time. And we really need to dive deep into those technologies and understand why they're pouring so much money into them, and why they don't work right now, why they're not perfect right now. And I'm not going to do that in this video because we're already at 20 minutes almost, and I want to take the time to really explore the world model and the concept and where it's going, and that's going to be in the next video I make. But for now, I just really wanted to go over, what is going on with generative AI when it comes to video games, because it seems that not a lot of people are talking about this part of generative AI, and nothing's really happened in it yet, right? We're at that point where it's like a million people are working on it, and whoever does the first thing, then other people are going to follow. Just like with AI video, last year, one model comes out, shocks the world, then all of a sudden another one comes out next week. That kind of thing's going to happen. And I think that's going to happen this year, beginning of next year at the latest. But anyways, hope you enjoy this video. If you want to learn more about spatial intelligence and AI in the entertainment industry, go ahead and give me a follow. And yeah, have a good day.